So this is the pricing page. This is the Hugo website, handex.io, and it's a static website, mostly static, very little JavaScript type stuff. Everything is rendered out as HTML, and this is the overall file structure. Layouts is where we have custom theme specifications. Let's see. Config is a folder with a bunch of Tomo files. Hugo lets you have a config Tomo in the root directory that you put everything in, or if you want to break things up, then you can put it in a config folder, and I'll put the config toml in there, and you can have other configs in the same folder. That's just to break it up so you don't have such a large file. Here is the theme that is being used, SAASIS, and everything that is not overridden by layouts cascades down to use what's ever in this SASIS themes layout here, and this has its own config toml. So the kind of the structure of a Hugo project, there's a tree structure, and base of is at the root of that tree structure. This handles all of the branches or subsequent. I mean, this is the root, so the branches grow out of this root. Let's see, I think single, there's another type. There's sort of three files that come out of the base of root. That's base of, single, and I think the other one is list. But I don't think I think the reason there's no list here is I think we're just not using a list, which is like a table, or like a Twitter feed or something like that, with many items in it. So most of the pages we have are kind of single based. There's nothing really list based like that. So this site grows out of the base of. This is where all the, like if you want to track it back to the root, if you're looking for something that should be loaded here, you can track it back to here and then see, here's the footer, here's the script HTML where all the scripts are loaded, except for this script here, which is also loaded right here. But style is, and that's a partial. So that would be in the partials folder. And that's going to help us describe what's going on with pricing. Pricing is on the pricing page here on the right hand side, and it's also on the main page. So that was like a change that we made somewhere along the line. We wanted pricing to also be on the main page, so I abstracted out this pricing partial right here that just starts with the listed items. The list of items that we use with site get page pricing, and pricing is at the root of the English content. All the content on the site is inside the content folder, and then it's broken up by language. I think we are English only at this point. But this is where the content comes from, and it's using Markdown at the top as for data. That's like YAML data right there. So when the pricing partial is rendered, it gets, we tell Hugo with site, which is the root of the whole site, get page from the site, and the page we get is pricing, and pricing is in the root folder. So that's how we address it right there, is just with quote pricing. That gets the data from the pricing page, and there's not a lot of data in it, but it has this pricing element, and that's a list of 2 items, pricing items. And so the pricing partial ranges over the pricing data from the top of the pricing.md, ranges over them, selects elements out, name, price, I think that's here, yeah, name, price, per, link, and you can just add things in here actually, as long as you just update the pricing partial. Those will become available as you add them to the YAML in the pricing MD. So it's very flexible, text-based and static. So it gets built and pushed. It's not continuously updated. Only editors edit these files, and then it gets all rendered out to HTML, so it gets served very quickly when it's fetched by users. In any case, let's see. So, and here's features list. Let's just look over here. So features list, you can just add items to the features list, and they show up in the features list over here. So that's the pricing partial. Then there is this pricing page, which has a layout of pricing, and this is a little confusing because we're using the same word for so many things. But the page means it's in the URL. That's how you figure out. That's how you set the pages. This pricing.md is in the root of the English folder, so that means it's going to be at the first slash after first segment of the URL after the domain. So it's just like a folder structure, just like in any folder structure. This is it's right in the root, and you can add folders and you can add files to those folders, and it will just build out a URL segments for each of those folders, just like as if you're in the shell and you're going to, or if you have a path to a file. So that's very convenient. But this pricing page gets rendered here by using the pricing layout. Now here is the pricing layout, and you can see, going back to the pricing page, it says here layout. In the YAML you may specify a specific layout from the default directory or subdirectories, and it'll look it up and apply that to the page. There's a couple of other ways of linking a layout to a page, but that's a pretty straightforward one. Just put it in the YAML at the top in a layout tag or property in the YAML. Now the pricing layout in the default layout includes this partial pricing. So again, the partial pricing is like the actual HTML of these pricing elements, or actually the container and the elements inside the container. Whereas the pricing layout is for the whole page, and that's why this is the contents of this pricing layout, pricing HTML layout, is mostly the FAQ, which is down here on the pricing page. So here is, the FAQ stuff on the pricing page. Let's see. I think this browser inside Visual Studio doesn't work very well. I'm just using it because I can show you it's better than having two windows on the screen, I think. But if we go to the main root of the site, we can see there is also pricing on the main root of the site, and this is just the pricing partial. Just like this on the pricing page has a partial space pricing.html and a dot which passes in all the data from the local context into the partial rendering, partial layout. That's what the dot does. It passes local context in. And so if we look on the main page, index.html, which is the default index, it's the layout for the main page. I think it's the default for maybe more than the main page, but let's see. So here is a partial pricing.html. The same exact call that's on the pricing page is here on the index page. So this is telling it, hey, just render this partial layout and pass in the local context into that partial layout. So definitely, to make any changes to the pricing, we want to do it in the pricing partial. We would probably start with adding a class to this pricing content, like something like pricing content. Let's see, that's actually, so the code completion gave me this suggestion, pricing card, because I didn't realize I'm actually inside one of the cards, not the container. So the container is up here. So I would put pricing container up here, and then pricing cards inside. And then apply CSS to these classes. I think that would probably be the easiest way, rather than trying to apply them to row or G4, because that's probably going to affect a bunch of other elements on the site or somewhere else, or used by the theme or something. So I think it's probably easier just to attach a new class to these and use that in the CSS, which is in, let's see, we don't want to do it in the theme stasis because that's all updated by SASIS if we ever get updates from SASIS, because they might have fixes or vulnerability fixes or whatever, something that we don't want to conflict with. So we'll put our updates probably in index CSS and, or I should say, or in custom SCSS. Either of these places would be good places to put that. So that's the basic structure of the Hugo website and how to submit changes, tweaks, or anything to layout, fixes, updates to prices, or error, spell checking, or anything like that. And the easiest way, to find stuff like I did with pricing here is just do a find replace, or a search on the whole folder. That's a good way to find stuff. And we could see here, like, kind of everywhere that pricing affects, including in the config, the menus, English, Toml. And this is where, if you want to add a page to the menu, for instance, what I said earlier about you can just add a page in, and it'll be similar to a file path, to the same file path. It'll be just like the file path in the folder. But that doesn't mean you'll be able to access it from any menu or link on the site. So if you want to put it into a menu, you go into this menus.en.toml and add it in here. And you have to, put the navigation, like, subdirectories and stuff like that. But here's blog. Another option would be to put the URL to the new page in a blog item or something like that. And for blog, I think that might actually be one of those list things that I thought we didn't have. I think we do have some ranges, but it might be implemented as not with the Hugo list, but with just going through the range of content inside the blog folder is probably what's happening there. But that is just a even broader view of what's going on inside the Hugo environment. This is a very brief overview of how Hugo works. The Hugo website has a lot more information, but it's a rich environment. It has lots of capabilities. It's very fast. It's very capable. It's also very popular for static websites, and it's great. I use it for documentation websites. I just love the simplicity of the markdown file structure being identical to the path to the file. And a bunch of the other static website generators don't maintain that relationship, and so it's not quite as easy in other ones to add new markdown content and to know where it'll be and to build out folder structures at will as it is in Hugo. But this is just a brief introduction. I will have more. If anyone's interested in any specific areas, please let me know. I'd be happy to talk about it more. Hugo is a pretty neat thing to use. It can be frustrating. I have gotten very frustrated for little periods of time, but usually I come back and go, oh, I see why they did it that way, and that kind of thing. and I'm still using it. So let me know if there's anything you're interested in, and other than that, just have a wonderful day. Bye bye.